members of the executive committee, there has definitely been a lack of attendance and just a lack of taking something seriously overall, like the debate.
All right, thank you, Jay Reedy. So for the sake of time, I guess we'll reduce the duration of the next comments or the next answers for 45 seconds rather than a minute. Looking at the clock, it seems like you guys really only need about 45 seconds. Next question. We'll go to we're starting with Jay. What are the strengths of your opponents? So just also once again in the spirit of the debate, let's try not to look at the negatives. What are the positives of your opponents?
He has some really nice hair.
He does. Yes.
And yes, Joseph is definitely very approachable. Tashi is very committed. I don't think I need to say anymore.
All right, thank you, Jay. Joseph, same question. What are the strengths of your opponents?
I'm not gonna lie, I envy Jay and Tashi's height. But in all seriousness, I do respect the fact that Jay is here quite a bit. That he does see a lot of what's going on, and for Tashi, I really appreciate how, at least to me, how open he is to me about his opinions. Whether or not that's to the rest of the community, I'm not sure. Yeah, they're really good people. They're my friends, and that's how it's going to be. And they're KGG members, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. All right, thank you for your kind words to both of you. Moving on, Jay did bring up the mention of AFK events. What are you going to be doing with the AFK events coming in the next year, Joseph?
So AFK events are definitely a really big thing for us, or something that should be a really big thing for us. There's only so much gaming we can do before we start getting tired of it. I really am going to be pushing to try and get something set up for consistent events that we can assume are going to be happening every month or whatever interval. I want us to do a lot more sports or athletic type of activities. And there's nothing wrong with going to the bar every once in a while, right? And I'm just going to try and get as much of that down ahead of time so that it makes smooth transitions for us to just show up.
All right, thank you. Same question to Jay Reedy. What are you going to be doing with the AFK events coming in the next year?
I will listen to any and all suggestions by not only my executive council, John. Thank you very much for all your hard work, John. Just all right, because he is really the heart and soul of the event planning committee / event committee thing.
Yes.
My words are getting old here. I'm sorry. For the most part, I will attend as many events as I am able, and I can't guarantee any more than that.
All right, thank you, Jay. At the end of our fifth question, we'll be opening up the floor for any questions from the audience. Anybody have any questions? I'm guessing not. We'll move on to our next one. The KGG has just celebrated its 1-year anniversary. Where do you see the KGG going in the next year? Jay Reedy, please.
I may shock you with this answer, but I would like to see it remain as it is. I would like stability in this guild. One thing that has definitely been an issue amongst the executive council is trying to keep members interested. That should be the president's top priority. And the fact that we have over 350 members, but only around 40 regular members should be the top priority for the president to increase the latter number. So where do I think the guild should be in the next year? 400 active members. No, more like 100.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. Same question to Joseph. KGG celebrated its 1-year anniversary. Where do you see us going in the next year?
One of the big things that I want to push is us being more known in the outside community. I want us to be known with another store, perhaps, more club benefits for us, as well as I want the other schools and other university clubs to respect us as a legitimate gaming group. I want to push a lot of our collegiate stuff and even supporting single people to large events that we think they can do well in. I just want the KGG name to be more well known on the outside, The Quantland knows us very well. Everybody on campus knows us very well, but I want us more well known on the outside.
All right, thank you. Once again, thank you for talking about the competitive scene. The next question is concerning that. Because of the recent surge of competitive gaming, such as League of Legends and Smash, how would you cater to and promote this community of gamers? And how would you balance this with the casual community?
I can already say that I have been supporting at least one part of the competitive community in the Smash one. I donated a bunch of amiibos so that the competitive players can definitely get what they need out of it. They can have that taste of victory with like something tangible, and that's something that they've been lacking for a while. And hopefully, by giving them this, it'll allow more free time for more casual play, where the ante isn't so high. For League of Legends, that's something I'm not so sure about how to add casual play to, but definitely gonna push for more of those, Friday night 1v1 tournaments and like stuff like that, more fun activities that way.
All right, I'm going to be cutting you off there. Jay Reedy, same question to you. Because of the recent surge of competitive gaming, such as League of Legends and Smash, how would you cater to and promote this community of gamers, and how would you balance that with the casual community?
I don't think we should cater to anyone in particular. Jeez, it's fine. Yeah. I don't think we should cater to anyone in particular. I think that the guild as a whole should be on a level field. Whether you are hardcore or you're casual, you should be able to get something out of this guild. And giving specific attention to one group or the other just seems counterintuitive to that idea. As far as what I would do to help these sides, running out of time, listen and take that feedback and implement policies based on them.
All right, thank you. All right, next up we have a question on WICE. What is your opinion of the WICE community as it is right now? And what would you do to make the weekly WICE tournaments more enticing for other WICE players?
KSA funding for prize support is definitely something we could look at, but has not been explored currently. What do I feel currently or personally about the WICE community? I have no idea. I do not play the game. However, I think that the fact that we have a weekly scene that draws at least 10 people weekly, is that correct?
8 to
You're
10.
there. 8 to 10 people is great. The fact that we have a game that can draw people here that isn't either Smash or Magic and keep people here weekly is it's great. It's amazing. It's something that we need more of, much in the same way that we need more board games.
All right, I'm going to be cutting you off there. Joseph, once again, the question is, what is your opinion on our WICE community, and what will you be doing to make the weekly tournaments more enticing for other players?
So out of the three candidates, I definitely feel like I've got the best feel of what the WICE community is. I think that it's actually in a very good spot with how healthy it is. There's no toxicity in it, and that's a fantastic thing to see because when you're playing card games, you're playing one-on-one games, it is really easy to get the salt. And in terms of like how to promote it more, I definitely think this comes from one of my things that I said earlier that I want to push to try and get support from an outside source who will support us or sponsor us in some way, shape, or form. I think that prizes, while may not be necessary, may be helpful at some point.
All right, thank you. I'm going to be opening up the floor once again, just in case anyone has any other questions. Yeah, please.
One of the main issues about the weekly Smash Bros. Tournaments is that a lot of casual players are intimidated to enter because there are more competitive players entering. So how would you cater to like both scenes, casual and competitive? Like, would you split the tournament, make a half competitive tournament, half casual tournament? But if you do that, then there's only like 6 competitive players playing, well, like 12 casual. So like there's an issue there as well. So like, how would you remedy that, and how would you give both casual players and competitive players an incentive to enter the tournament?
All right, so we'll direct that question towards Joseph since it's his turn to answer. Reiterating the question, we have two groups of players, casuals and the more hardcore gamers in Smash.
Yeah, and
what would you do to remedy the divide that's basically happening between that community?
So I think one of the easiest ways to handle this is doubling up on our if we want to run the tournaments, to double up on the tournaments, running them simultaneously. A very simple way of doing it will be to have your casuals playing and have your competitive team playing, and then if desired, winner of casual versus winner of competitive. I think that even though there's only 6 to 8 players willing to play in the competitive, there is, again, by definition, competitive players that want to know who's the top seed. And that should keep the competitive players around. And then for the casual players, again, wanting to know who's the top seed amongst them is something that anybody would want. Anybody would want to know.
All right, thank you. We'll be asking the same question to Jay Reedy. Would you like us to reiterate the question? So there is a divide between the casual and the hardcore gamers that do compete in Smash. On our weekly Thursday Smash days. How would you remedy the situation as it currently stands? Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine. I'm going to gather my thoughts here for a second, because there isn't really a lot I could say that Joseph hasn't already. It's just the way it is when one person goes first, and they don't say anything wrong. Really, having 2 brackets for weekly events is the right thing to do.
All right, thank you. I once again opened up onto the floor. Anybody else have any other further questions? Richmond.
So this question's been asked before Matt today.
Okay.
But what would you say to a second TV?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mind if I add on to that?
Sure.
Sure. So we've had problems with TVs in the past. What is your opinion currently on whether or not we should be having a second TV in the room? Directing that question towards Jay.
Sorry, in terms of permanency or temporarily?
Permanent.
Permanent.
Could I please get a restart on the time there?
Sure.
So, one of the primary issues with having a second TV here is theft. Believe it or not, this is an open room that anyone on university can come into. It is not a KGG space. We cannot guarantee that anything donated will stay here. The only way to guarantee that is to put a big clunky TV that no one would want to steal. The fact that it needs to be big and clunky gives way to space concerns. There is definitely not enough space in this room, and there will not be space in the club room for multiple TVs until we get the student union building.
All right, thank you, Jay. Same question directed towards Joseph. So the question is, what is your opinion on getting a second TV being permanent in the room?
My personal opinion is, of course, who doesn't want another TV in here? Who doesn't want to play Smash and play Call of Duty at the same time, right? Okay, sorry. Having a second TV would be so sweet, right? It would just solve all these problems that we're having with people wanting to fight over the TV. But realistically, that is a very difficult thing to do. Having a TV here, a second TV that is not easily theftables? I don't know what the word is. Stealable. Having one that's not stealable is next to impossible with our space restrictions, and having one that is good for our space restrictions is going to be picked up and taken away relatively quickly. This is a tough one.
All right, thank you. Thanks to both Preet and Richmond for those questions. We're going to be moving on. The next question that we have is actually quite similar to Richmond's. As we all know, the TV is a precious and limited resource. What will you do to ensure that all games and players have equal access to the TV when it's not scheduled for other use? Joseph first.
I think we're all adults, right? Realistically, we should be able to self-regulate ourselves. Unfortunately, sometimes it kind of comes up not that way. I think that as the president, it is definitely within our responsibility to just step up and be like, hey, we got a couple guys who really want to play the game. You've been on here for half hour, 45 minutes. Do you mind finishing up what you're doing and jumping off? Other than that, we can't be rude about. That's the biggest thing. We can't be rude about. We can't offend anybody when we ask them to on an unregulated time. But I definitely think that just being courteous to each other and asking people to step off is the right way to go about it.
I'm going to cut you off there. Jay Reedy, same question. The TV is a precious resource. What will you do to make sure that everyone gets equal access to the TV? we'll restart the clock on that one.
Naruto.
Thank you.
Naruto's
Yep.
great.
Is it fairy tale?
Go ahead.
Sounds like Naruto.
Facilitating behavior should be one of the president's core duties. And doing, as Joseph has suggested, speaking to players who may not realize that they are hogging the TV or taking more time than is reasonable is definitely something the president should address. The reason why it should be the president is they should wield the authority to put the foot down and say, guys, come on, let's be reasonable.
All right, thank you, Jay. All right, so our next question has a little bit more to do with the executive side. With the rumors about executive decisions being made without the consultation of the executive team, what steps would you take to improve communication between executives? We'll ask Jay Reedy first.
For those unaware, the current online presence of the executive committee consists of a private Facebook group and a private Facebook conversation. Neither of those is well utilized in regards to a lot of executive decisions, and that is something that I personally have pointed out to the executive making said decisions. If I become president, that is definitely something I would push. And once more, the president should be the facilitator for changes like that.
All right, thank you, Jay. Same question to Joseph. There have been rumors about executive decisions being made without the president consulting the executive team. How would you change this?
I definitely feel like I don't know the exact things because I'm not part of the current executive party, but I do know that if I was president and part of the executive party, that the online presence is definitely something I would be pushing. With me working full time, the online thing is where a lot of our conversations will most likely be happening. Also, having just more consistent communication in the actual executive meetings is something that I would want. I've sat in on a few of them most recently, and I have noticed something as an issue for communication. Two things. One is that our current president doesn't know when to listen. Two, our current vice president doesn't know when to speak up.
All right, thank you. I'll be opening up the floor to any more questions. All right, I will move on to our last question. The KGG is approaching 400 members. This is a giant group of people that have signed up to be part of the club, but fewer than 100 to 150 people actually take part in club activities in any given month. How would you involve these other 300 people? We'll ask Joseph first.
This is a tough one because people come in one day, sign up, and then they step out, and we don't really get a chance besides that first day to really, keep them. One of the things is, as the president, to be very approachable in this manner and let them know that, like, hey, we've got so much going on that you're going to be crazy not to want to come back and see what we're doing. And then we do have members who come in, stay for a while, and then slowly drift away. And what we need to do is, just let them know, like, hey, we're still here. We're still doing a lot of fun things. And we've got new things coming up all the time. It's all about just showing them all these new things that we're always putting out there for them.
All right, thank you. Same question to Jay Reedy. KGG is approaching 400 members, but fewer than 150 people actually show up. How will you get these other 300 members involved?
I've been a member since day one. Well, day -1. I signed up before the first meeting. And the reason I've stayed so long is the friends I've met. About half of you, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Come on, guys. The best thing we can do is engage those people who don't come and stay on a personal level. And getting to know each and every one of the members should be a part of the repertoire of the president's skills.
All right, thank you, Jay. Once again, we'll be opening it up to questions from the floor. We have exhausted our list of questions. All other questions will be off the top of our heads, so please forgive the nature of our questions. Go ahead, please.
So let me figure out how to word this.
Sure.
So let's say a member takes one of you guys out the balcony and tells you about like a huge issue they have with the guild. Would you tell the other execs if you couldn't solve the issue on your own? And also if they say keep this between us, would you still try to look for advice from your execs, or would you simply try to do it all on your own?
All right, so reiterating the question, I'll try to get the spirit of your question as much as I can.
TLDR.
What is your opinion? How would you deal with like confidentiality when dealing with members' issues?
And if you can't solve the issue on your own, would you go to other execs?
All right, I think Pete's said the question sufficiently. Jake?
I would definitely include the other executives, even if it was requested that it stayed mono a mono. Names don't need to be said, but recognizing that each person has a personal bias towards how they react to each problem, whether it's social or it's some other issue, it should definitely be something that you ask opinions about if it's something that's going to affect more than just the person you're speaking to.
All right, thank you, Jake. Would you like us to reiterate the question for you as well? So what is your opinion on having confidentiality when someone takes you out to the balcony and has a one-on-one talk with you? That person, if you could not solve the problem, would you bring that problem back to the rest of the executive committee or to other people, even if the person asked you to keep it private?
Transparency amongst the executive committee is something that we need to value and that we need to push. The way current things are happening, certain executive members have no idea what's going on, and this is causing miscommunication. Even it's tough because even though you've been asked to keep it to yourself, if I couldn't come up with a reasonable solution, I would have to go and ask for advice. Again, leaving out names and other irrelevant information. And if I could solve, or what I believe I could solve the problem, I would, before acting on it, quickly check with the rest of my committee.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. Thank you. Any other questions from the floor? I believe Richmond had a question.
I'm just gonna try
Need
to
help with
rephrase.
phrasing? I can
Okay, hold on.
try.
So, as you know,
Mhm.
as everyone knows, there are not a lot of girls in the club. Why do you think that's the reason, and what would you do to retain the girls in the club?
Thank you for bringing this up. This was actually a question that I was thinking about bringing up last night when I was going through this question list. I just couldn't find really the wording for it, but I do think it's an important issue. So right now we happen to have a mostly male-dominated composition of the KGG, and I think we're pretty okay on being as racially diverse as we can, but also we happen to not have too many females that actually join up and stay for long amounts of time. How would you
Just
help
as an aside, the rough number is roughly.
I think it's about 60 to 40.
No, it isn't that high.
It's pretty high.
It's about 37.
30. Yeah, so how would you help promote inclusivity for all people from all walks of life, essentially?
So I know Jay doesn't have any problem with the KGG ladies. Okay. For the other gentlemen that are curious about what's going on and why we don't have as many female members as we'd like, it has to do with first impressions. Okay. This is part of the president's job, is to be very approachable and to be very open whenever a fine young lady walks into our room. We should be one of the first people to speak to them, or any new member for that matter, and making sure that they're as comfortable as possible and they just don't think we're a bunch of creepy, sweaty dudes.
Yeah.
It's all about approachability.
All right, thank you. Sorry, would you like to make a...
I just wanted to rephrase my question.
Sure.
What would you do about the thirst in this club? That
Okay,
was what I wanted to
let's
ask.
I'm going to keep it there. But we will give JVD an opportunity to answer this question.
Have some coffee. One of the core issues I've seen with some girls coming in here and becoming uncomfortable is that there are some members, and I will not name names, but there are some people that do make women uncomfortable because they will essentially go a little overboard with their flirting. And that is definitely something that needs to be addressed. It's something that I don't feel I have the authority to do at the moment, but it is something that I would definitely address as president.
Great, thank you, Jake. I believe Bessie had a question in the back.
Okay, so I'm not really sure how to word it yet, but with events like Gaming Feud and things like that people really enjoy during the events and stuff, like how would you implement things like that, like doing it like a monthly basis instead of like waiting months and months for an event for things like that to happen? Like you could do like small time, once a month Family Feud or something like that. How would you guys, not just Family Feud, but like other small things that we do in big events that you could do once a month?
All right. So for the activities that us as members like to do, that we only really get a chance to do during our big events, such as Family Feud. I believe there's like a hide and seek game that John was gonna implement as well. How would you bring these to a more? What is your opinion on bringing these kind of events to a more monthly basis versus semesterly? Jay.
One of the reasons why we don't do weekly karaoke is that the frequency with which you do events like that makes it lose its luster. Sure, it's great to hear someone belt out Sweet Caroline once a month, but when it happens every 7 days, you get a little sick of it. The best thing I could suggest for events like that would be to have a rotating schedule. 1 month Family Feud, 1 month karaoke, 1 month hide and seek. Repeat until you feel great about yourself.
Right. I just want to put an aside to that. It's not hide and seek. I think it's I Spy game that John wanted to bring up.
It's
That's kind of lamer.
Same question
I think
to
hide and
it's
Joseph.
different.
Should be fun.
So I just want to start off with. I'm sorry, Jay. I disagree. Nobody's gonna get tired of hearing Sweet Caroline. that is just not even close. But it is Jay is right on the fact that if we implement these things every month or whatever frequency, like they start to they stop being interesting. Part of the reason why we love these events so much, these little mini activities, is because they're special, they're rare. That being said, like definitely getting these things if you want them more, we'll get that done. I will talk to my boy John.
And if I can put an aside in there,
We'll stop Joseph's questions there, and yeah, John, if you want to bring something up.
should I point the camera to me?
No.
No. Good.
That's fine.
Perfect.
But-
One thing with some of these events and activities is that they take a lot of work to put in. And it's very difficult for 1, 2, even 3 people to put it all together. And we need more member involvement to get that going. We tried to do a couple different sort of activities and things in the past that just didn't work.
I believe Keith had a question also in the back.
So with KGG branching out to both the Richmond and the Langley campus, how would you, as president, cultivate these other KGG campus groups, and how would you unite these 3 groups as one instead of separate entities?
All right. I believe Keith's question is worded very well.
I think one of the things that I know I'm going to do is I'm going to go out there and I'm going to see what's going on. I have yet to go to the Richmond campus and the Langley campus since they've opened their branches, but I know that personally being there is something that will help. And by doing that and getting to know those people and getting to befriend those people, that's a big thing, right? Right now, they're a loose community of themselves. And definitely having the president go out there or the executive committee go out there and let them know, like, hey, you're not a separate entity. You are the KGG. And then making sure that we have events that somehow we can all get to. I think the best way to do it is actually to probably include them in some sort of AFK event. That's probably the easiest, quickest.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there. Thank you. Same question to Jay Reed.
Joseph raises a point here. The fact that there are events in Surrey or Richmond that neither party goes to is the reason why we are so decentralized. Having AFK events somewhere in the middle, say Burnaby, is a great idea. But at the same time, simply attending meetings isn't enough to reinforce the fact that Kwantlen Gaming Guild Richmond Edition and Kwantlen Gaming Guild Langley Edition are different umbrellas. The fact that they are separate entities at the moment is a symptom of geography, and increased internet presence would help.
I'm going to cut you off. Just made it underneath. Yeah, any other questions from the floor? Did Cody have a question?
It's not serious. When can we get to know Ben?
We'll move on to Richard. Richard, please.
Okay. I'm just curious with the implementation of AFK events. So far in the past, there have been a reasonable number considering it's been a year. It's been maybe 4 or 5 relatively large events, then a handful of smaller, sort of less organized, like spontaneous outings. Um, but for the most part, at least to my knowledge, they've always been to say a bar or a restaurant or some other kind of place like that where it's expected you're going to spend a fair bit of money, um, transportation notwithstanding. So, are there any locations you might consider trying to promote where money is less of an issue?
Right. I believe it's Jay's turn to answer.
I have 3 words for you. Maybe.
Count it.
Water balloon fun.
Yeah! There you go.
Thank you. As many of you know, Jay is running under the water balloon fight party. Joseph, would you like to respond?
It is tough to first of all to that. Second, to have an event that everybody can come to that doesn't cost a relatively decent amount of money. I think the best thing to do is to look into some sort of outdoor activities, and something that we get a much more bang for our buck than spending $50 at a bar or at a restaurant. Things like, if we can do it, grouse grind or other activities like that. I definitely think that sporting type activities are the way to go to push us for more frugal activities.
All right, thank you. That was a great question. Thank you. You have another one?
Maybe just add kind of an addendum. I was thinking more along the lines of